Yeah, so it sounds like Bobby Lee's doing Skankfest, and this warmed my heart as well, where it seems like comedians are really coming. This is another trend that I don't care for. Like I heard Renan Hirschberg was recently on Lewis and Zach, and they were talking about like women that Renan found attractive, and Lewis was kind of like shitting on him for it. But it seemed like pretty good natured. And then I hear Renan on his podcast calling Lewis like this pig, like this sexist fucking monster. Like they're kind of like shitting on Lewis. And I don't really love that because I think there is a self awareness that Lewis has to a lot of this stuff. And I think what he provides the comedy uh, really is great. And I think helped people in a time where we could have gone one of two directions. Like comedy could have gone to a place where there was a lot more censorship and people worrying about brand deals and stuff like that. And I think Lewis has given an outlet to people with things like Skankfest, where you can be yourself, whatever that is. A lot of people denigrate that into saying like, "Oh, you have to say the N word." Or talk about like rape or something in order to be part of Skankfest. That's not true. You can literally do whatever you want, and there's an eclectic mix of comics there. So I'm glad to see more people starting to respect Lewis a little bit, and that's what I took away from this conversation with Bobby Lee and Big J Okerson.
Well, I want to apologize is that over the years, I've been invited to a variety of different Skankfest.
Sure.
And I never even would reply.
Nice.
I don't know what it was. Like, I didn't know what it was until I was doing a show with Bert in Vegas. And who's that clean comic? He's really popular.
Nate Bargatze.
Yeah, him.
It's bizarre how out of touch Bobby is that he doesn't know who that is. Who's that guy, Nate Bargatze?
Is he doing a Bill Murray on us?
He might be, yeah. He would have to be, I think.
I'll do impression, but let's
That's
go
good.
to the Skank.
Get on.
So I went into his car. I love him. What a nice guy. And Nate and I went, and it blew my mind. Like, I thought like Skankfest was like 20 people. It's an actual...
It was at one point.
Convention, and it's also people that are huge, you know what I mean? My fans.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And in my mind, I was like, oh, this is something I want to do every year.
Yeah.
This is incredible.
We're in New Orleans this year now.
Really?
Nice.
Yeah.
When is it?
It's in November. Nope. Yes.
I got to go.
September or November. I can't remember.
Do you think Bad Friends can do something there or something?
100%.
Like we'll do a live pod there or something?
No, they will absolutely. Yeah, November.
We got to go.
16th. It's
I'm going to ask.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, Rebecca and Christine will be reaching out to you very shortly anyway because they're getting all the bookings done now.
Well, to ask them to, if they can hear me now, give Bad Friends an offer.
I like that he's like, hey, would it be okay if we brought like one of the biggest podcasts to that? But like, it warmed my heart a little bit as a guy that goes to Skankfest every year, and like a lot of it is jokes and fucking around with Lewis and the fans. But there's this notion that like they're all scumbags there, like they're pieces of shit, and it actually gets a little frustrating sometimes because like when you're there, comics lean on like, oh, these fucking racist fans and all that. Like, that's a big joke there. And it is like when you interact with some of these people, it's a group of the. I would say this about like the Minifans all the time as well, where like there's this notion of them online, and when you meet them, it's the warmest, sweetest group of people, you know. So like it's nice that people are starting to recognize that and recognize what Skank. Because on the surface, I get why Skankfest is a little abrasive and it might be off-putting to people. So I'm glad people are starting to recognize what it actually is. But in terms of reading the room, there is someone involved with Tiger Belly. It doesn't really... It's very puzzling to me. And it's puzzling why Bobby Lee puts up with it. I wasn't aware of what was going on with Khalyla and her life. But my boy Unique, Kyle, Scion Z, as he's formerly known, he's out of prison, apparently. This guy, he's one of the original like comedy reporters that I found. Like he started talking about Opie and Anthony like 11 years ago, and that's how I found his YouTube channel. He's a mush-mouthed guy, drunk from Rhode Island, and a couple weeks ago he made a video. He's like, "Sorry guys, sorry I haven't made any videos. I was in prison." He was just like in jail for a few months and came back to report the news. And that's how I found out this about Bobby Lee and Khalyla.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't do anything either.
You had a family get together.
No, we didn't.
That's what she said.
We had dinner. Dinner?
Yeah, with everyone.
No, not everyone.
Who was there?
Just me, my mom, Jules, my sister.
Yeah, and there's not a big entity there either. Was there a big entity there or not?
Here's why I don't want to talk about the big entity.
Yeah.
Because every time I want to talk to you about the big entity, you shut it out. You're just like, I don't want to talk about the big entity.
Yeah.
So you like, want to pretend that...
Well, there's an entity. Okay, let me just say something, okay? When there's entities around,
Okay.
all right, in my house or anywhere, right, I always call it out. I go, there's the entity. You know what I mean? But you don't bring up the entity. You know what I mean?
You don't.
The reason why I don't come to the dinner because the entity's there. I'm scared of entities.
Check your check. What does your text message say? Do you want to go to dinner with a big entity?
I don't want to. No, I don't want to be. I don't want to be around the entity.
Bobby, it's been years.
Yeah, I know.
Can we just
I can't.
get on with it?
I can't.
I've met so many of your girlfriends.
So the speculation there, Casey, you may not be aware of what's happening with this podcast or what has been happening for a few years. I'll explain it to you. Bobby Lee and Khalyla were probably legally in a civil union. They lived together for 10 years. They were essentially married and they started this business together. And then a year or two ago, I'm starting to forget, they broke up and they kept doing the podcast together. And it was a little weird because they would each start dating. A lot of people suggest that Khalyla cheated on Bobby. I think they've talked about having been in an open relationship that was really only open in one direction, I think.
Okay.
So
yes.
Khalyla's been very disrespectful towards Bobby. But what's weird is Bobby keeps himself in that situation. So it's hard to really criticize her for it. So what's happening is within a year of them breaking up, it seems like Khalyla had a child and hid the pregnancy.
Heyo.
And she suffered from Bell's palsy a while back. And people are now saying that makes sense because it's a common symptom of pregnancies, that a side effect of pregnancies that may go wrong, that matches up with certain things. I don't know what's happening with these two, but it's a very weird environment. Imagine sitting there with who was the love of your life for a long time, and now she's out fucking guys, and now apparently has a kid that she brings around you, and you have to run a business with this person. That's very weird. Poor Bobby.
Yeah, that's awful. I turned on the show once and she goes, I may have had sex with my brother. And then I turned it right off.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm done with this.
Khalyla's very weird and seems very disrespectful to Bobby. And that's a lot of the talk. If you go to any of their subreddits around this show, Khalyla has one, Tiger Belly has one. There's a lot of bashing Khalyla and poor Bobby, but it's Bobby keeps himself in that situation. I don't know if he gets off to it or whatever, but he likes having that around, or he would have distanced himself from it, I think. You know what I mean? He could easily get rid of, I don't know what paperwork they have in place, but I would think he could easily get rid of Khalyla on that podcast and they wouldn't miss a beat, really. So I don't know. Very strange goings on there with Tiger Belly, but I just thought we would check in because I thought that was newsworthy. The idea, I don't know that it's officially been confirmed, but the idea that Khalyla was doing that podcast and managed to hide her pregnancy in front of the guy. Obviously, Bobby knew about it, but I'm saying to the fans, hiding a pregnancy with a guy you dated for 10 years. Very weird situation.
Go to blindmike.net for everything Blind Mike. Look at me. I did it. Kragers did it.